Yeah, that's so interesting. And I mean, you talked earlier about sort of the growth of And Pizza, and it's, remarkable. Congratulations on the success of the company. Can you talk a little bit about what has sort of been driving the growth, and sort of you mentioned some of the scars some of your inspiration companies have had. How do you think about that as you try to think about how you grow And Pizza in a way that you continue to keep it true to sort of the vision you have for it as a company?
Yeah, well, it's tough when it, passes hands from, father or mother to son or daughter or anything in between. That I think is always challenging when you're passing it down from generation to generation. Always creates complexity. But I think there's something to be said about the authenticity of the reason you got into the business in the first place, and never really compromising on that set of principles or values that led you to where you ultimately had that product market fit, had that success, and started to really scale up. And I think when often businesses go wrong, it's not just through the insertion of private equity capital or venture capital or the capital markets. It often has to do with making decisions that are based more on near-term profit than long-term sustainability. And so for us, when you have a business whose symbol is literally an ampersand, and that ampersand, as I mentioned, is all about unity, uniting the working class. It's a constant reminder day in and day out who we serve, who we work for, and why we're doing this to begin with. And so even when we've been faced with some of the most difficult, conditions that, COVID had brought, as it's wreaked havoc on, the restaurant industry in general, the one thing that we stood by was always making sure that our employees were continuously paid more year over year than the prior year, and making sure that we could do our best to guarantee jobs in a time of uncertainty. And so I really think it comes down to, reminding everyone constantly why you exist, and then getting enough people, even new investors or shareholders around the table, to believe that your success is directly correlated to how you treat your workforce, and that you cannot decipher between the two. You can't look at financial success and say, well, what if we cut wages, or what if we didn't increase wages this year? What would happen to the P&L of the company? We don't even have those conversations as a shareholder group, because everyone knows the importance of it to the success of the organization. So I think that continuity is critical. And perhaps if this business changes hands one day, you would expect that, the buyer of this company, or if we go public, the shareholders would really appreciate and value that continuity. And there's enough proof points out there to point to other companies that have done it at scale that never compromise. And as I mentioned before, have some of the healthiest margins and healthiest balance sheets, decades later.